Thank you for staying with the Hallowed Chambers. Now, my guest today is a member of the House of Representatives from Ondo State, and his name is Honorable Donald Kimikabo Ojogo. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Evening. Well, recently, more lawmakers from the opposition side joined the APC during plenary, and we're beginning to see, or we have been seeing, this mass defection from opposition side to the APC. A lot of people are concerned about this because this has raised eyebrows. If we're seeing this continuous movement from the opposition to the APC, we've heard talks about a one-party state and all of that. Isn't this just going to convert the National Assembly as well into a rubber stamp?
Well, I think we just have a responsibility to also refreshen our minds with history. Defection from one political party to another political party, or from one party to others, it's not something new. It's not happening with the 10th Assembly. It's not commencing with it. Some of us, even before we were born, came to read from history books that people defected from one party to the other. And it's one out of political exigencies that individuals voluntarily make up their minds to defect from one party to the other. Then the second leg of your question, which in my own opinion is a needless apprehension, is whether we are going into a one-party state or the National Assembly will be a rubber stamp. It's neither of the two. Well, there is no need for people to be apprehensive whether the defection will eventually lead to the emergence of a one-party state. Remember, a time there was in this country when the PDP held sway, and I know the number of governors out of the 36, not less than 26 or 27 governors belonged to the PDP. There were some who were also members of the opposition party that moved on to the PDP. Did PDP eventually become the singular party in the country? No. PDP itself was even dislodged. That is to tell you the enormity of the sophistication, political sophistication of Nigerians. So it is not in any way near anything that could be frightening, to the extent that people will say we are moving towards one-party state, or that the National Assembly will be a rubber stamp.
So in your own opinion, would you say these defections are more of ideological shift, or is just a case of survival, political survival for those that are moving? What does this mean for the principle of checks and balance in the system?
Yeah, when we talk about ideology, political ideology, I will say that there are no political parties in Nigeria, as we speak today, that have their own definite, well-defined, collective ideology that people follow. But that does not take away the fact that there are individuals who are idealistic, there are individuals who are dogged in their own personal ideologies, there are individuals who have decided to have some form of political integrity around themselves, which we may call ideology. But to say that there are ideologies in political parties, I think it's nothing near, it's nothing close to it. It is not a matter of ideology. I mentioned earlier on that in most cases, political exigencies dictate the decision of persons, the decision of individuals to move from one party to the other. For instance, we are talking about defection. Just about 48 hours ago, there was a development. That was a major defection. People call it coalition. But in my own opinion, it was a cross-party defection from one party to the other. Those who belong to other who defected to other parties also going to form another party. So people defected. Would you want to say that it was propelled by ideology? Ideologies died with the First and Second Republic.
Well, I really like the angle that you took there, talking about the coalition of the opposition parties, which brings me to my next question. This coalition is beginning to gain traction, and, a lot of attention is beginning to shift to this coalition. And as a member of the APC, do you worry that some of your, members will be tempted to jump ship, since this is beginning to get, a lot of popularity? I'm talking about the coalition now.
Well, it depends on the angle you are looking at it. It's also, the angle from which you look at it might be different from the angle a political practitioner will look at it. I, as an individual, do not believe that the contraption called coalition, as it were, is anything that is enticing enough for anyone to be tempted to join. One, we are all students of politics. We are in this game, and for you to have been elected into the House of Representatives, you must have gone through the furnace of at least some political tutelage. We are not unaware of the contradictions that are inherent in that coalition. A very serious politician who is not part of the coalition today would rather wait until those internal contradictions in that contraption called coalition are sorted out. The contradictions are simple. When you have a collection of individuals, politicians, those driving the process. One was a presidential aspirant.
Well, I would have asked you because looking at the big names, or would I say the big wigs that are joining the party, look at David Mark, we see Rauf Aregbesola, former governor, we see Peter Obi, we see Atiku, and the likes of it. And your members of the APC, some of them are saying there's nothing to worry about. Even the president himself says there's nothing to worry about. Don't you think that it's sort of like an overconfidence and going to bed, with full confidence? Don't you think that there's something that should be, more checks should be put in place to ensure that, they don't pull the rug from under your feet?
Well, it's a thing that one has to really think about. Yes, as a politician, you should not overlook or undermine any political move that is aimed at unseating you, that is aimed at undermining you, that is aimed at shifting you from your point of comfort to the otherwise. But I want Nigerians to be rest assured. I am not speaking for the government. I'm also not speaking for the party, because I'm neither the spokesperson of the party nor the spokesperson of the government. I'm also not the spokesperson of the House. I'm speaking as an individual, as a member of the House of Representatives, as a stakeholder in the APC. But one thing is clear, that we have a leader in our party, in the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's not a baby in this game. We believe strongly it's going to give direction, it's going to give supervision, it's going to provide leadership to confront this emerging monster. Because whether we like it or not, those big names you have mentioned are names. I don't belong to the class of persons who say they are nothing. But I belong to the class of persons who express overconfidence that they cannot move an inch towards unseating the current government that is being headed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Why do I say so? Here is a man who has been in the game for upward of 4 decades. And he made a statement. He said he had prepared for the presidency for almost 30 years. That is one. There is a man that had all the odors of government against him when he wanted to run for the president. When a government in power is against you, and you belong to that same party that controls the government in power was against him. The economy was twerked against him. The people were incited by those who were beneficiaries of the party against the party itself, so that the man will be seen as somebody who could not be elected on the platform of that political party that had been decimated, that had been demarketed by even though they were beneficiaries of that political platform. He overcame. He overcame. How did he overcome? Because he was prepared. I am not trying to be prophetic, but I believe strongly that the president cannot claim that he never saw this coming. President Tinubu is not somebody that will entertain any fear. APC is not any party that will entertain any fear by these so-called big names that you have called.
All right, we'll still continue the conversation, but that will be right after the short break. Don't go anywhere. There's more for you after this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Only strong men lead, not weak men who don't have knowledge, who don't have capacity, who don't have access.
This is not just talk. This is fireworks.
Why should people elected into office and are being funded by the treasury of the state, and then their salary and allowances will be treated in secrecy?
Fireworks, only on TVC News.
We're glad to have you back. You're still watching the Hallowed Chambers, and we still have with us in the studio Honorable Ojogo. Now, let's move away from party politics now. Let's talk about governance. Over 100 bills by the House of Representatives is still awaiting concurrence by the Senate. Do you have any idea why there's this delay?
Yeah, to sit here and appropriate wisdom about why it is like that may be out of place for me. But looking at the enormity of work we do in the House of Reps, I am not a member of the Senate. I want to strongly believe that the responsibilities we face, the responsibilities we discharge, things are not different in the Senate. Well, it could be as a result of workloads. I don't want to subscribe to the fact that it is a deliberate thing on the part of the Senate. Yeah, I know you are talking about a step we took in the House of Reps to step down a particular bill that came from the Senate. It was not to spite the Senate. It was just a flag that we raised. So whatever color you ascribe to the flag, that is anybody's business. But we raised a flag. As our colleagues in the same political venture, as our colleagues in the same Nigerian project, felt, look, yeah, this is what we have observed. Please do A, Y, Z, so that work will be faster in the National Assembly. Yes, it is true that we have nothing less than 140, precisely by 145 or 148 bills, if my records do not fail me, that are waiting concurrence by the Senate. But in the House of Reps, there is no bill from the Senate that gets delayed. Any bill that gets to the House of Reps is treated expeditiously, speedily, and swiftly. We even sacrifice some of our bills to ensure that bills from the Senate are attended to. But when the same benevolence is not extended to us, we may have every reason to think, one, as individuals to think differently, and as a body to also resolve to say that, yes, let us raise a collective observation to say that this should be corrected.
Your constituency is currently battling severe flooding, and you raised the matter in the House of Representatives on this said matter. Since then, has any real action been taken to help your people in this regard?
Yeah, there are processes for whatever remediation that has to be embarked upon. There must be processes, and yes, they had the privilege, acting on the benevolence of the Speaker, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, PhD, the People's Speaker, as we call him. I initiated the process of bringing the attention of the nation, bringing the attention of the federal government to the ravaging flood in the largest of the federal constituency. If you know my place very well, the largest of the federal constituency is the only oil-producing federal constituency in the entire Southwest. It is also the only riverine federal constituency in Ondo State. So the effect of floods, anytime there are severe floods, the effect is always devastating. But from what the House had resolved yesterday, drawing the attention of the federal government, I am going to meet with critical stakeholders. Of course, I'm going to brief my governor the step I've taken. He's the leader of my state. And incidentally, my governor is also from my federal constituency. So I'm going to brief him, one, as my governor, and secondly, as somebody who is also more concerned than me. So the step that we will take might not be for the TV, but steps will definitely be taken. There will be behind-the-scene moves to ensure that a lot is done to ameliorate the suffering of our people.
I was going to ask that beyond the motion, is there any other real steps that you take that, people will feel the impact immediately? Because, you can raise the motion and, the processes may delay, but what kind of intervention are you also making for your people to ensure that they feel not left alone in this very trying time?
That is, I am representing them. I represent my federal constituency, and at every given point in time, it is my duty and responsibility to ensure that I raise the red flag where it is necessary. I raised the red flag, as I told you yesterday. And it is now my own responsibility to go back home and brief my governor to map up strategies. The strategies and the suggestions that I have in mind that I will table before Mr. Governor are only known to me, and I cannot disclose them until I get to Mr. Governor. So whatever we will do to ensure that the sufferings of these people who are affected is ameliorated will be discussed not now, will be discussed much later. And we will be swift about it, we'll be decisive about it, and we'll make sure we pursue it vigorously to ensure that more damage is not done to our people.
All right. You also have a bill for the creation of University of Oil and Gas in your constituency. Yeah. Can you tell us what level that bill has gotten to, the impact that it will have if eventually passed and assented to? What prospects does this bill hold?
Yeah, the idea of that bill came, there are two bills that I am pursuing concurrently. The idea of the bill came 2 months after my inauguration in 2023, around August. Well, in politics, you just have to, more consultations. I had to do my consultation. I went to the fields. I asked questions from ranking members to ensure that my T's were crossed, my I's were well dotted. So just about when I was, putting this together, there was this natural challenge, ill health, but we thank God for everything. I had a break of almost 7 months as a result of ill health, so I put it aside. But when God finally intervened and I returned, I vowed that those two bills were going to be vigorously pursued, and I reignited the process. One, the National Institute of Vocational and Entrepreneurial Studies will be sited at Agadagbogbo, which is my own area.
Just have 1 more minute.
Arobo. That one, the importance of that kind of institute cannot be overemphasized. Then, in the case of the Oil and Gas University of Technology, as I said, that is the only federal constituency that is oil producing in the Southwest. Look at the entire Southwest. Even though we have oil and gas deposits in abundance, what do we have in terms of manpower development? So the purpose of that school, that university, by the time it finally comes to stream, is to ensure that we maximize the opportunities of our gas deposits to train our people who are in the industry. Most of our people in the industry are low-level persons, low and medium-level persons. We want to ensure that we at least take proper charge by way of training So if we have that kind of university, it's going to be a breeding ground for persons who man that industry. My Ondo State has nothing less than between 60 and 65,000 barrels of crude every day, and we have over 4 billion crude deposits. So we cannot but ensure that this type of university is sited. After all, we have this kind of university or institute in places where there are no oil deposits. So what stops from pursuing it?
All right.
I believe strongly it will come to fruition with the support of Mr. Speaker, with the support of the government, and with the support of Mr. President.
That's all on our program today. Do not forget to keep a date with us next week when we will bring you fresh updates on activities in the Parliament. You can see this episode again on TVC News YouTube channel. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching. I am Tijesu Adewi. See you next time.